Well, hello everyone. If you remember from a couple weeks ago, we looked at a Sansui monitor. It was just a full HD, 1080p, had a good frequency, not a bad price by the time I got my discount, looked good, had really good ratings on it, looked like it's good enough just to be an upper text monitor, something to park programs and things while I am doing some work editing upstairs. But it was defective. So we thought maybe we might have gone a little bit too tight and maybe we open it up a little bit. So is this one right here, this Acer, which is 1440, 2K versus full HD. And it has, depending on what you believe, do you believe the box it came in, which you'll see says it's 180 Hertz, or do you believe the advertisement that Amazon puts out saying it's 170 Hertz? When I upped the frequency in Windows, I want to say that it was 170 Hertz. I think the Asus below it, maybe 185. I don't know. I clocked it up as far as it will go, and we can get more frames than we can show, so it really doesn't matter. But anyway, we're going to look at this monitor starting right now. Well, hello everyone. We're going to open this Acer Nitro EDA0, whatever that is. It's a slightly curved monitor, 27-inch, 1440. We started out with a 24. It turns out that monitor was bad. We decided, well, maybe we tried to get too much budget on it, and we stepped up to this size. It's 2 inches, well, 3 inches bigger, 27 versus 24, so higher resolution versus the 20, because at 24 you really don't need a higher resolution. It's a small monitor, you don't need curve, but we got it anyway. Here we have it. This is 180 Hertz. It's not a super high performance. It's not very expensive, but it'll do above me so that I can cut my eyes up there and see the windows that I need to see, the recording software, studio, whatever it is, and then whatever's below that I'm demonstrating. So it's going to work. So let's stick around and see what this looks like when we get her out, unhooked, and installed. Well, this to me looks a little bit like old stock. You see how we're a little bit discolored here and there. This is the official Acer seal, looks like. So has it been violated? Now this looks new down here. This tag here looks like it's been around a little bit. And if we take a look at the bottom, I wish I knew how to read the date. But anyway, it is what it is. It came from Jefferson, Georgia. How about that? So we're going to find out. Anyway, it's like 16 of 17, so perhaps this is just the last in that stock. Don't know. We'll try it. We'll see what's going on. This is round 2 of monitor. That happened with the last one. I don't know why monitor companies can't spring for a little strip of Scotch tape to hold this stuff together. All right. This is the front. This is the top towards me. We'll see what it looks like. You can get an idea. We've got a little bit of a curvature to it. It's not significant. Let's see how the back is done. Take its little protective coating off. Set that down. All right, well, it's definitely curved. What can we tell about the back? Let's spin it around and look at it. It's not overly thick. I like that. This amount right here, we'll have to see if we got a pile of screws in that bunch. But if you'll notice, we have our connections up high. So this may actually be, by the time we put a foot on it, not a bad arrangement. Because you know what we looked at on the previous monitor, we had a very similar type of mount here. I guess we can open it. I don't intend to use it because we're going to put it on that pole. But yeah, here's a little piece to go in the back. The foot, I guess I'm not going to take that out, but yeah, you see what we got here? This is like a zinc casting, I'm guessing, some kind of aluminum casting perhaps, and we have a foot like this. This is silver, so it may be that, it just wasn't a great seller being, not all black. Our consuming public, of which I am obviously one of, may not like that. And of course, here we have our HDMI cable. You know, I needed another HDMI cable, but I do appreciate that they sent them with it. It has one screw there, and just like the last monitor, we don't have screws for the mount. But we do have two HDMI, one DP, the audio in the back. We can see that right here. HDMI, DP, audio, power right there. Power brick. I already fell out of his little baggie. What wattage is this? Let's see. It's 9/10 of an amp. Output 3 amps. So that's the same one we had once before, except the other said it was a full 1 amp in as far as that goes. And this is going to be 3 amp out, 12 volts. Same voltage range, very similar. What do you say we get this, the little plate, the VESA mount on the back? I already like this better in that not only do we have one extra input in case we need it for some reason, which we may not, but in case we do, I like having the 3 inputs. But when we put this VESA plate right here, it's not going to interfere, at least I don't believe it's going to interfere with this section down here. And it looks like it's a VESA 75, not 100. We'll find out just now. I think on this one, because of the thickness of the back and where I mounted the first one that we had to return, I think I'm going to use these little spacers here to space it a little bit off of the VESA plate so that the monitor actually, when I tip it forward, the bottom won't kick in behind the Asus monitor, the 32 that I have in there. There are a little supplied with the mount, and I will go ahead and try to get it in this basic position, and hopefully we'll get our screws mounted in there. We'll give it a shot. I did notice on the previous video we got a little bubble looking mess right here. This is, you know, just a discount kind of Chinese Amazon mount. We may have to, you know, depending on the blind depth of this insert here on the back panel, we may actually have to shim that a little bit more. Depends on how much screw threads we have. Now, I don't like this. The screws for this mount, the monitor didn't come with any, and these screws are too long. The short ones are too long or too short, depending if you want to use a spacer, they're too short. And if you don't want to use a spacer, they're too long. So we end up having to do something rather tacky and ugly, which is either we're going to use a big stack of washers, or we'll have to use a nut and a couple of washers. Don't like that. That's not Acer's fault. That's the manufacturer of the mount itself. Aha, it is old stock. Manufacture date September of 2024. But at least, I tell you what, at least Acer did put the voltage requirement label on the back of the unit instead of just saying DC. If you like this content, please go to calldell2sell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you. Thank you. At least, I tell you what, at least Acer did put the voltage requirement label on the back of the unit instead of just saying DC, like it says right here in the molding. It should say DC, but the previous monitor didn't tell us what the voltage was. So if you happen to have lost your power brick, or it blew up and you couldn't read it, or what have you, you'd be out of luck. There we have it weighed on the coffee scale. It's a little difficult to do this without tripping it, but yeah, it's like 7¼ pounds. Well, there is our shot of the monitors mounted on that generic mount. And we can see, if we step to the side, I did use 2 sets of standoffs. And just did, I guess, get a round or 2 of thread engagement on that. The monitor's not but 8 pounds. But you see, it doesn't get in the same plane. It doesn't get far enough forward to really be perfect. but it's not bad. It's not bad. Now, as we can see that Acer monitor up there, that's a good vision right there. It doesn't come out far enough when you tilt it, because I've got a burst disc in my neck. The looking up is a little bit of an issue, and it would be better to be a little bit closer to me to stack on top of the other one, but it's already standing off, as we see right there, if the camera will focus on two sets of standoffs. I guess we got just enough thread on them for them to tighten up. They did tighten up. You see the thumb screw at the top. It's a little bit different than that first one I showed you. I think I showed you. And I guess it's the Asus 32 on the bottom. Yes. And then this one is the Acer on the top. They're both 1440. The 27 top, 32 I guess it is on the bottom. They're fairly stout. I don't know that I'd want to put too much more weight on there. Let me go back up to the top. Because with this out here, it does support it, but it's not too terrible strong, but it's not weak either. It's just, I guess it's just good enough. That little foot down there clamps tightly enough, as we saw in the earlier vision of it. But yeah, I guess that's pretty good for the money. Don't regret it. I'd buy it again if I needed one. See, I expect it to be very similar to this mount. They look very similar in nature, except this one is only for one monitor. You see it's got a cap in the top. Very similar bracket, little mounts right there. This one has just a little adjustment for fine adjustment up and down. You put a little turn key up there, a little hex Allen wrench, and you can crank it up or down. But yeah, it just pretty much sets right there on top of it. Not a big deal, but you get the basic idea. The clamp, the foot portion of it, with this one, because it's just a little stainless table, is awfully thin. So we have to make sure that we have our little adjustment set up far enough where it can clamp down actually directly tight as much as we would need it. Well, alrighty, we're just wrapping this up. I did want to point out something. If you will notice on that side shot, what I was trying to get at is, so I got a bad spot in the neck and it kind of hurts to go up. I don't really have the room to go sideways to my right, so I don't really have any place to go but up. And we tried to start with that full HD first, which was 24-inch, and it was okay, but it was defective, and so it really wasn't the cleanest looking monitor that far away. We bought another one, but the Sansui had one thing going for it. Where we come in with our Visa plate on the Sansui, we said we didn't really kind of like the part that the fat part where the speakers was so far down, because when you plugged your video cables and your power cable in, that kind of thing, they're going to be seen hanging right down. You don't really have enough room to wrap them toward the middle and pull them down by the pole. We didn't like that part, but being so low on the monitor, we could mount the monitor and cock it out and get a little further out and closer to me sitting in the chair, so it's almost more closer to being in plane with the monitor, the 32 that sits in front of me. With this one, the Acer, I got a double stack, and it looks a little bit ridiculous from the side, but I'm bringing it out as far as I can get it, just barely enough screw threads to make me sleep at night. And even then, when we cock it in, because it's so high coming into the back of the monitor, the bottom of the monitor is in behind the Asus. That's the first one that comes up. So when you're looking at it, you may not think about it. Maybe if you get old and decrepit like me, it might make a big difference. But when you look at it, you're focusing at this distance, and you look up and you have to come back a little bit, and it's refocus, focus, refocus, focus. It would be better, in my humble opinion, if I could have had that monitor coming at me right about in line with the Asus below, and I just don't have long enough screws. I may be able to get some and some more standoffs. It may look a little bit more ridiculous, but we might do that. Depends on how bad it hurts the old eyeballs. Anyway, we appreciate you watching. If you don't mind, and this was any good to you, go ahead, if you will, and click the notification bell and join the channel as a regular person. You'll see the content as we go. We appreciate that, and we'll see you next week.